So hello, and it's really exciting to be here, if not a little bit scary in my nerves of being a public speaker. But I feel very privileged to be standing here to talk today, especially after the wonderful speakers that we had this morning. They were so inspiring. I'm not an academic, or I am just an ordinary person, a visual person, and maybe a bit dyslexic, and I make sense of what is around me through art by ordering things in a way that is meaningful to me. I'm an artist, an art therapist, an arts educator, and I'm interested in the potential of creative communications. This image on the screen at the moment is one that is of great interest to me. It is of the studio of one of Britain's most famous 20th century artists, Francis Bacon. With a reputation as a uniquely bleak chronicler of the human condition, his abstracted figures portray isolation in flat geometrical spaces. Bacon struggled with his uncertainty and lack of direction in his life, coming to art late, but rapidly developed conviction and complete confidence in his own language. So what does this image tell us of his studio? The more we look, the more we see. The more we see the man, we see the chaos out of which was born the masterpieces of the 21st century. This, to me, symbolises the process of creation, of communicating, of living. It's messy almost to the point of intolerance, of being intolerable. It is a real battle to be fought and won on a daily basis. All of this is enacted in the creative act of making. So how do we make sense of the order out of the messy and uncomfortable parts of our lives? The processing of thoughts and feelings are at play in most artworks, whether intentionally or not. The understandings gained from creative experiences can be applied to the much wider world. Joyce Ling, a pioneer art therapist working at Berlin's special unit, recognised that there are three ways the arts can be used in any institutional setting. Firstly, as a pleasurable, time-filling occupation. Secondly, as an educational pursuit, both in practical and theoretical terms. And thirdly, as a living expression of thought, emotion, and the portrayal of images from the subconscious. The first two ways, obviously, provide benefits. Yet the arts will not engender change or growth for the individual without the third way, which is the spontaneous expression of the inner psyche. Making art is a way of inviting the viewer in, to enter into the act of looking and making sense. This is where relationships and communication start, as we jointly contribute to the understanding. For the trained arts therapist, the image of the creative making comes as a communication from the unconscious, from the heart, and more often than not, from the hurt. This is an image from an art therapy session in a forensic ward. I think it speaks for itself. The artist has depicted an all-seeing, watchful eye looking down on this disembodied row of linked heads. Their eyes downcast or closed, not seeing or meeting the viewers, they are disengaged from their physical bodies, yet linked together. The blended colours of the pastel behind belies the blackness of the drawn heads and the drawn eye. And there is something dreamlike about the image. It is floating, but not present. Art as therapy is now well recognised in prisons, schools and hospitals. Art therapists have training in psychology, psychiatry and psychotherapy, and work creatively on many different levels, helping to reduce stress, build confidence, and develop insightful understanding of harmful behaviours. Working in this manner offers a useful, non-threatening way of looking at difficult material, especially if you find it hard to find the words. Sadly, the number of art therapists employed are low. Institutions often confuse art education classes as art therapy, offering art as a recreational activity and thereby missing out on all that this profession has to offer. Over the decades, the idea of developing prisons and other institutions as schools for life as enablers of well-being has gathered traction around the globe. The Berlin Special Unit was the UK's first experiment in this area. It opened in Barlinnie Prison in Glasgow in 1973 and housed 10 of Scotland's most violent prisoners. The introduction of art alongside therapeutic interventions provided a unique catalyst for change. With the rehabilitation of the majority of the high-tariff prisoners, of 12 men released back into the community, only 4 were subsequently reconvicted. The most notable of these prisoners was Jimmy Boyle, whose book about his life's journey, A Sense of Freedom, was subsequently made into a film. Irvine Welsh, another good Scots writer, said of this book, It lays down a challenge to individuals in disadvantaged and perilous circumstances. Channel your energy into pursuits that break your chains rather than simply forge new ones. Boyle went on to work with acclaimed playwrights and artists and is responsible for Europe's largest concrete sculpture, which we will look at later in this talk. So prisons are not often considered creators of well-being and provide a tough test for institutional changes intended to improve well-being. Since 1998, the Singapore Prison Service has converted prisons into schools for life, improving the lives of prisoners, prison staff and the community at large. In doing so, the service exemplifies 5 key lessons from wellbeing research: the importance of social context, benevolence, trust, building positive outcomes, and top-to-bottom engagement in a shared purpose. The results have been impressive, ranging from a 1/3 drop in reoffending to improved staff morale and positive social connections between prisons and the rest of the society. Creative thinking around creative projects may yet provide some answers to addressing today's prison challenges. Arts and Corrections is California's creative response to their challenges. A partnership between the Arts Council and the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, its aims are to combat reoffending, nurture rehabilitation and foster safe conditions in state prisons and juvenile detention centres. By introducing prisoners to everything from dance to drama, the programme looks to inspire deep and lasting change. This focus on relieving stress, encouraging self-confidence, developing motivation and reliability, overcoming social and economic barriers, on learning sensitivity, intellectual flexibility, even simple things like time management and taking initiative, all these things translate into deeply impactful rehabilitative skills and qualities. All this through creativity. And the good news, the prison experience is improved for both inmates and staff, as well as the development of better institution-community relations through community services, art projects and concert series. I think they even have a festival that they run inside the prison. A report evaluated the effectiveness of this programme at 4 institutions and found the benefits far outweighed the costs, which is also good news. So do the arts help? I think so. The evidence says yes. In a report, What Good Are the Arts?, John Carey pointed directly to the impact of arts provision within prisons. He highlighted not art education sessions, but pointed to participatory arts projects, working with practicing artists, stating the arts start from where people are. In including the arts, Roger Gray states that, as with crime, the arts are an expression of violence. Seen within the prison context, art can accommodate such expression in a way that enhances rather than damages lives. The recognition of the slow death of thought is a quote from the writer Arthur Koestler, who marked the establishment of the Koestler Trust 50 years ago. It is an innovative project that today ensures the provision of creative opportunities within and outside of prisons and institutions across Britain. Koestler recognised that creativity is about reflective thinking, about insightful experiences and communications. The trust he set up looks to the encouragement of intellectual growth through expression, to the development of emotional literacy, and to the building of positive identities. Its provision improves relationships between staff and prisoners, facilitating empathy and shared communication, combating in turn feelings of victimisation and detachment. The annual Koestler Awards receive over 7,000 entries from participating prisons, inspiring offenders to take part in the arts, work for achievement and transform their lives. Over 100 ex-offenders have progressed through their scholarships and mentoring programmes and their national and regional exhibitions with curators including Sarah Lucas, Anthony Gormley, Grayson Perry, and victims of crime attract over 40,000 visitors annually, showing the public the talent and the potential of those we have locked away. The creative arts projects impact on staff, on families and society as a whole, and they work to break down that historic model of oppositional identities. They seek to give pride to those involved, and they work to challenge prejudices that exist. They encourage engagement with a wider diversity of people. And I'm going to leave you with these last two slides. This is the Sleeping Giant. I think I referred to this earlier on, the largest concrete sculpture at one time in Europe, which was designed by Jimmy Boyle from his cell in Barlinnie Prison. It is a part of a children's play park that he designed for a Craig Miller estate, housing estate in an economically deprived part of Edinburgh. And I think this image, the Sleeping Giant, it is actually a sculpture of Gulliver, but the locals have called it the Sleeping Giant. And this image, the Sleeping Giant, the dormant possibilities are in this piece, I feel. The potential for strength from the gentle act of thinking and observing, picking up a pencil and drawing or writing, taking a thought for a walk and sharing it with someone. We have a creative community. Let's build the relationships to benefit the whole community, inside here and outside here. To make any mark on paper, canvas, wood, to stand up and read a poem, all these things are to take a risk. It could all go horribly wrong. What have we got to say that is worth taking that risk? In psychodynamic theory, attack and reparation is often explored. The artist's ability to resolve this attack, to make something good, something that satisfies, speaks volumes about the resilience to such challenges in the wider world context. Art can give a voice to those that cannot be heard. This is not just about prisoners, it's also about our families, it's about our children, it's about our prison staff, it's about our victims of crime, it's about all of us and how we make sense of what has happened in our lives and how we prepare and support ourselves to go forward together. We have the creativity. Let's take this risk. We have started by being here today.